Welcome back to Deer Camp. We're going to talk about soil amendments today. And not necessarily fertilizers, but more along the lines of lime, gypsum, and potash we're going to focus on today. And what is a soil amendment? A soil amendment is an imbalance. It's products that's added to remedy the imbalances in your soil. What are some of the products that are added to soil for amendments? And some of those products are manures, composts, carbon products, lime, and potash. Okay, so getting into the lime, gypsum, and potash that we're going to focus on. The lack of lime, gypsum, or potash can reduce the nutrient availability of other nutrient cations, and it'll reduce soil structure if you don't have enough amendment. It'll reduce the amount of water filtration and actually the water holding capacity. So soil is all about balance, and if something's out of balance, you're going to be lacking something somewhere. Did you know that excess magnesium in your soil test, it ties up the potash, so it can't be uptaked into the plants? Excess calcium ties up potash, iron, and magnesium. An excess of potash, it ties up micronutrients of boron and manganese. The way you know you're lacking on some of these things is on your soil test at the bottom. Usually it'll talk about base saturation. Base saturation, it's complicated, but I think I can explain it in a way you could understand. Base saturation is made up of calcium, magnesium, potash, sodium, and hydrogen. Okay, and the base saturation is a compromise of all those things added together that should add up to 100%. Excuse me. And what you should have is somewhere in a range. Your calcium should be in a range of 65 to 75%, somewhere it should fall in there. Your magnesium should be somewhere between 10 and 18% in that range. Potash should be between 3 and 7%. Sodium less than 2, and hydrogen will make up the rest for a total of 100%, if that makes sense. You could help amend your soil based off of the base saturation. So if you're looking at that and you see you're low, you're not falling into one of those ranges, okay, now you could amend according to that base saturation. And just adding lime, any old lime, to the ground, you could be compounding your problem or causing new ones, and you might be just using the wrong limes. So let's get into that a little bit. If you're using just straight up lime, it's used for low calcium base saturation and to help raise pH, and it may also raise your magnesium base saturation. So that could help raise your base saturation on your magnesium, just using straight up lime. Now, if you're just using, if you want to use gypsum, you could use that to reduce excess magnesium or potassium. It improves water filtration, and it does not, I repeat, it does not influence pH. Gypsum will not help your pH. It doesn't influence it one way or another. Like I said, it's just to reduce excess magnesium or potassium, and it'll improve your water infiltration. Okay. when using potash, you use it used for low potassium base saturation, and it does not influence pH either. So it's used just to boost your potassium. All right. Now, that all being said, let's get into some of the products of lime. So you have hydrated lime, dolomite lime, calcitic lime, and you want to use calcitic lime. It's for using when your calcium base saturation is low and your magnesium is somewhere in the adequate range. So you just use regular old calcitic lime. Okay, dolomite lime you can use when your calcium and magnesium is low. Your base saturation on your calcium and magnesium is low. Okay, you want to use gypsum in a point in time when your calcium's adequate and your magnesium and or potassium base saturation is high, and you want to use potash to increase your base saturation of potassium. Now let's break down potash with potassium. When you want to add that, there's a couple different types of that stuff too, and you have what's called muriate of potash. You use that when your potassium base saturation is low. And there's sulfate of potash. It's when potash base saturation is low, you use it, and your magnesium or calcium base saturation is high. There's one called Sulfomag. It's sulfate, potash, and magnesium. And you use that when your potash and magnesium base saturation is low, your calcium base saturation is high. And I know there's a lot of information, and no, I'm not a genius. I had to write this stuff down and look it up. But I do a lot of subjects because I look at Facebook forums and I see lots of questions, and there's a lot of bad information out there. So, if you could even understand this as clear as mud, because I know that's a lot of information, and I'm probably not the best one to pass it along to you. But if you could make heads or tails out of what I just told you, to make soil amendments, you kind of have to know what your base saturation is. It's based on numbers and a percentage, and then if you know your base saturation numbers, then you could go back and figure out what you need to add to amend the soil, your lime, gypsum, or potash. And then there's different limes and potashes there that I listed that'll help you out. Now, like I said, I had to study it, write it down so I could actually read it to you. Excuse me for looking down a lot. That was a lot of reading. But this is a learning moment. If you could hit the like button after the video, it'll be saved into your liked videos on your account on YouTube. You can go back and it'll be saved there, and you can go back and watch this. Maybe it'll make sense later, I don't know. Maybe you need to look up a different video. Someone else is a better teacher than myself. But it'll be there. Maybe it'll help you out in the future how to amend your soil. We're not talking necessarily about fertilizers. We're talking about the balance in your pH for your soil. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.